March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, and the governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Southborough Stewardship Committee will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information in the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right or a requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the Town of Southborough's website. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to watch or participate in the meeting may do so in the following manner by finding the meeting at the town website. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the Southborough's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. And we have in attendance myself, Joyce Greenleaf, Jim Gorse, Catherine Craddock McKee, Jenny Pete, and Freddie Gillespie. And it is now 6:46 p.m.
Can you hear me?
Now we can, yes.
Okay, thank you.
So our first item of business is to approve the minutes from last time. Does anyone have any edits or corrections for the minutes?
I do.
Okay.
Jenny. So do I have to write these corrections down in these
No.
minutes?
No, I'm going to do it this time. You'll do
Okay.
that next time.
Okay. Okay, so under town forest,
Okay.
for the Jenny and her family bit,
Yep.
okay, so can you change it to Jenny and her family have identified vernal pool indicator species in the wood duck box pond for possible vernal pool certification and submitted this information through Heritage Hub. Wait a second. Yeah, maybe that for possible vernal pool certification. Can you just read it back? That goes at the end.
They have ID'd vernal pool indicator species in the wood duck's pond for possible vernal pond certification and was it submission?
Submitted this information.
And it's submitted via the Heritage Hub.
Yeah, okay, that's good. Thank you.
Did that say wood ducks?
It's the wood duck box pond. That's where the
Well, that's what you're calling it. Okay, because you don't certify wood ducks. Sorry, I was just confused. Wood frogs, yes.
Anything else from anyone? Okay, can I have a motion to approve them as amended?
I'd move to approve the minutes as amended.
Okay, Kat made the motion. Any second?
I second the motion.
All in favor? Jim,
I approve.
Kat,
Approve.
Jenny,
Approved.
Freddie,
Approved.
and I approve. The motion passes. And we should acknowledge, thanks, Jim, for doing minutes all this long time that you've been doing them.
You probably did them longer.
Hey, it doesn't matter who did them longer. We're very appreciative of how long you've done them. So thank you so much.
Well, you're very welcome.
Thank you,
will-
Jim.
I will correct
you.
these and send them into the town.
And then maybe raise a virtual glass of cheers to Jim for all the minutes and contributions he's made as he starts this next chapter. So cheers to you, Jim.
Thank you.
I don't know.
The next item is town forest, and there was a trail issue over some wet areas. Kat, do you want to talk to us about that?
I forgot about that.
Oh, you had sent me that agenda
yeah.
item.
Yes. No, you're correct. I was just gonna, if I had my wherewithal, if I'd been on my ball, I could have shown a picture. Maybe I still can. So yes, in the town forest, we mentioned a while back that there were a stack of pallets, wooden pallets off to the side that someone has now spread out over a wet area to make a crossing. So the question I have for the group, which I'm trying to scan the images now, I'm close, is do we need to take action given the pallets have been, distributed in, I think, their intended way? So that is, that's the question. And my concern is they're in a wet area, and I wouldn't have recommended that. Oh, here they are, that they get put in this area, but they're there now. So what do we do about it? Let me try to share my screen. Let me know when you can see the pallets.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. So now they are now all, so if you that's kind of the view of the walkway. If you were a small child, you could get your foot caught in one of those. So now they're all in a direction that is perpendicular to your foot, so not parallel with your foot. So that hazard had been removed. So that's the question, is what do we want to do about this? This is the side trail.
So it is an existing trail that they're on, just on a seasonally wet area.
That's right. And that side trail, by the way, so we had some extra volunteers from the Algonquin Student Council who needed some work. They had volunteered for 3 days. And one of the days I had them build out the side trail that Freddie, it was an old trail. Freddie had identified it as, oh, wasn't there a trail here? And there was. And so they just raked it out and cleared up some brush. They did it in an hour because there were 7 of them. We posted on the trails website if anyone happened to see those pictures, but they did a great job, and everything in the forest is now blazed. I think, I don't remember if that happened before or after our last meeting. I think it was after, because our last meeting was to prep for Kim to do the installation, and then everything, the speeding train left the gate and moved on. So yeah, so the question is, do we want to do anything about the situation?
Well,
I'm sorry, somebody was talking in the background. I didn't hear. Is this over wetlands in wet areas in the new trail, or is this one of the old trails?
It's an old trail that was reconstructed.
Is that the one I said was an old trail?
Yes. Yep.
So somebody saw that you had created a clearing for the new trail and then put this in?
No, these were stacked last fall on the side, and I had brought that to the committee and said, oh, there's a stack of pallets. I wonder what they're going to do with those pallets. And this is what they did with them. They snuck it in.
But this is like not like is the trail kind of like where the picture, like where you're standing?
Yeah,
So they're
without
not
them,
supposed-
you wouldn't be able to cross without stepping in water.
But you're not supposed to cross here?
In dry
are.
weather, it would be a crossing.
Oh,
If
it would.
dry,
Even
it
though
would be.
there's all those skunk cabbages there?
It's just because no one has crossed in years, right?
Mm.
Because
Mhm. Okay.
And normally you can do stepping stones. I think my recommendation is, I think it's less damage to have them there if people are going to be crossing, to step on those than to step in the skunk cabbage. But I think we want to have a scout project to fix it and take
and do a rock wet, a rock. set.
Whatever they come up with. And it probably has to go in front of Concom, maybe?
Yeah, eventually those will rot out and people will start falling through it. And it is not legal to do that without permission from Concom.
I'm just thinking like we can
So-
go and take it out and something else will be put in, or they'll be crossing with stepping on the skunk cabbage. Just my personal opinion for a short term. Or we could put up trail closed signs, do not cross.
Yeah, I would be inclined to let it stand and let's prioritize some better system there for, I mean, I think I understand that there have been some scouts knocking at our door for projects, right?
Right, and I have a list of town forest objectives that I put in front of the scouts. They didn't choose that, but I will add this to the list. So on that list is, for example, the little bridge to replace the plywood that's there.
Oh, yeah, that's,
And a couple of other where it gets damp, just to realign the stepping stones. I think, Jim, that was the suggestion, to just, rather than try to do a little bridge crossing, just do stepping stones in those locations, because there's already stones there, just better place them. And that would be the least invasive way to handle it. And so on this one, I could just add that to the list as well.
Could it become, except for they can take so long, could it become, if you combine them together, an Eagle Scout project?
It's all together, those things. When I spoke with Peter DiStefano from Troop 92, he asked me, is this an Eagle Scout project? I was like, well, if you put what we have right now at the town forest next to those stairs that they did at Route 30, I don't think it's the same scope of work. It's definitely much less. So that's up to your council to decide, is what I said. But in my view, if you put those steps next to this, I don't see the same thing happen. I don't see the same output of work. One's less than the other. So,
Well,
we're
it's
not
always,
the decider of what constitutes a Eagle Scout project. Someone else.
I know I was surprised for the question, but that's the best I could answer. I said, it's really up to your council to decide how you want it.
also, I would suggest that if you had a troop that had hours that they wanted to do, but I don't know how you could design a crossing here and go in front of Concom and have it not be an Eagle Scout project, because what troop's going to go to that level of work for just a troop project?
I didn't quite follow.
If you have to create a plan
Yep.
and go in front of the Conservation Commission,
Yep.
it becomes a bigger project
Right.
than just the size of the crossing. And
Yep.
I'm just wondering, our goal is to get it done as fast as possible, correctly, right?
Yeah.
Eagle Scout projects can take a long time. Ask the scout troops if there's what they would suggest for doing a quick project here. But it may not be, and my suggestion was, can't you make all those projects together with the bridges and the stepping stones and this? Does that start to hit a Eagle Scout
Right.
project?
When
Because
I did put it in front of them and they were not, I actually even added, Joyce, the installation of all the signs in the forest.
Oh, yeah.
I even added that because I figured that would help get it closer to an Eagle Scout if
Yeah.
the grant were accepted, for example.
Yeah.
And they did not choose it yet. So they haven't chosen it for this year, but there are some other up and coming scouts in the future year. So like next year, maybe it could definitely be a possibility.
when you say they haven't chosen it, is that a Eagle Scout chosen or a troop job chosen?
Eagle Scout.
But did you ask if the troop wanted to do it as a project?
Nope. I have not, because I've been working with 92 on their community merit badge. So
Right, you have other work, but could it
I
be
haven't.
presented to one?
one troop, one person, one scout.
No, troop one.
Oh, troop one. Yeah, it could be.
I guess the question is, it could be 5 years before an Eagle Scout would do this.
Right.
So do we leave it like this for 5 years? Do we have it?
Yeah, I think we want something done more than 5 years, but I'm okay letting it be for a little while, but
Yeah. I mean, it might be,
just think this plus like the footbridge that the footbridge that you need. I mean, those are pretty substantial. That's substantial.
Yeah, and I actually even sent them a picture of a potential footbridge instead of just like a flat footbridge. It could just be a kind of like an arched kind of a ferry footbridge, you know, like a, because it's right near the ferry, those birdhouses and turtles. So it'd be kind of cute to have a little arch bridge, you know, kind of, it increases the complexity and the
And could that be
visual.
used for all-wheel driving jumps and stuff like that?
No. No, that's a really rocky area because so I would be surprised if they could get an ATV in there.
Didn't we see something in there? What did you see in the past, Jim? I thought like a motorcycle, motocross,
There's been dirt bikes there in the past.
dirt bikes. Yeah. So you don't want to make it an attractive nuisance where they want to do jumps off it. But I like the idea of the ferry house bridge or ferry bridge.
So we might be able to approach Troop 1 and offer a community service. Like, do they have a community service day that they could give us and do some work in here?
Again, if you have to go in front of the Conservation Commission, I don't know that it's a one-day thing. And
well, that could be something the committee does in prep for that day, for example, and not make it an Eagle Scout. I mean, not make it the Scouts issue. Because with their community service days are more like, hey, can we show up and do 2 hours or 3 hours worth of work versus, hey, can we go get approval to do this work and do the work?
so how would we come up with a plan for the crossing?
I could help work on that in time if it's not a priority. I could help do something like that. And then it would be a really good experience to be in front of Concom and take their temperature, if you will, on after they've worked with SOLF and another Eagle Scout on working on installing a small boardwalk in a wetland area. So they've started socializing that idea a little bit more and perhaps have, paved away a little bit.
Actually, I think they refused to let them go in the wetlands and the question was, could they even be in the 20-foot no touch?
Yeah, but they got the project approved. I just don't know what
there's no private property near here for parking concerns. So
yeah, so it's all good.
And I just want to be clear, when you were saying we, Catherine, we can do this and we can go to the Scouts, what really we're saying is you're going to do that. So thank you.
Well, on behalf of stewardship,
yes,
with stewardship support and guidance.
I'm just acknowledging it's a nice workload that you're offering to do for us.
Okay, yeah.
So thank you.
You're welcome, except it's not, like I said, I'd love to do it as soon as possible, but I'm admitting that I'm not quite sure when that can happen. I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. Does that make sense?
Yes.
No one's expecting it next week.
Maybe next month either.
This summer, anyhow.
Okay.
I just want to acknowledge that it's very generous of you and thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I want to do it right and I want to protect, we don't want this to look like it does, and it doesn't. It may not go well if someone sees it and reports it in a way that, and we're not on top of it. So I don't want it to hurt our reputation as stewards to the forest is essentially what I'm saying.
Is there any value in a sign? I know we've signed out, or some notice. I don't know how else to do it. This is an inappropriate road bridge crossing. We're looking to find a proper one. Does any volunteers want to step up and help?
Well, I know someone with a laminator, and so I could, I'm happy to put up a temporary sign.
I know, but then if we acknowledge that it's not proper, then we're liable for it being there not proper. Although we're acknowledging it here at this meeting. I don't know.
I recognize the urgency to get this right. So thank you.
Yeah, I think that I think it's going to be all right to leave it and be, reaching out to these Scouts as we're able and looking for other opportunities to address it as we're able. And as we readdress it down the line, if we're feeling like, oh, this has gone on too long, then maybe it's a different solution of hiring somebody or or whatever, having our own work day to figure out something, but.
Yeah, I did do an I Spy because I was like, well, how hard is it to find some flat rocks to kind of create that stepping stone? And I couldn't find any. And they're all buried. They look really good at the surface level, but they're all buried. And it would be great if we had a rock net, so if you had 4 scouts, you could just carry. So we'll have to devise something to make it easy to implement. Otherwise, it's really hard to carry rocks.
Well, let's flag this to keep at it, so that I mean, do you think, in terms of Freddie's point about signage, there should be a sign even that says, watch your footing here or something?
We could. I want to be careful about what the sign says to ensure that it's proper.
Yeah.
Why don't we just pretend, sorry,
Go ahead.
why don't we just leave it the way it is for now? We know it's there and we're working on getting a fix for it and leave it at that. I think signage creates other problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it could.
Okay, so I hear the urgency.
That's not on you, Catherine.
Right. Catherine, are there other town forest things we want to talk about?
Yeah, I can just be quick. So I think, am I right that our last meeting was the 14th? And so we haven't really convened and talked about how well the installation went for Kim Berry's capstone project. And thank you, Jim and Freddie and everyone. And obviously Jenny for all of your consult and prep for it. But I thought the install went really well. And I found everything now. I finally found those wood frogs. That was the hardest thing ever.
That's what I have not found.
I'm not telling you. Did you find everything?
Tell
Jenny?
me.
All I want to know is, did anyone find the head to the turtle?
Oh,
Did it-
I did not get back there and fix it. No, a bunch of stuff came up and I never got over there.
Did we let her know so she had the opportunity to fix it?
Yep, I let her know, and she said epoxy would work great. I don't happen to have any epoxy on me, but I tucked the, it's so morbid. I tucked the head kind of under the tail so it would not go anywhere. With the bottom jaw or whatever it is. And so I'm sure it could still be there. So we can still work on getting
Kat,
it.
I think,
might have epoxy.
yeah, I think we have epoxy, but we never found the turtle.
I know where the turtle
that was-
is.
And I'm trying to remember now if we found, I think we found, I can't remember if we found the frogs or not. I thought the turtle was the only one we didn't find.
Yeah.
But like, you're probably there a lot more. We're probably not going to be there anytime soon. So if you ever want to borrow it, you're welcome to borrow whatever we have.
Yeah.
I have epoxy as well. So
Yeah. I might, we'll figure that out. But anyway, so that went really well. And then we were able, with the collaboration of everybody's help, we got the Earth Day announcement out in time for Earth Day, and my Southborough blasted an article and the web page went up. So that was really nice that happened. Thank you, Freddie, for making the suggestion that we try to push for Earth Day, because that was really good. And then we were able to incorporate the other scavenger hunt that you guys worked on last year in the same page for the town forest, because that was a really good scavenger hunt that's great for all times. So it's a nice little town forest page now with resources and educational stuff. And that project tied in nicely as I transitioned to the Choate Fund grant proposal. Is this the right time to bring that up?
Before
Sure.
you, can you just go back to for this project before you move on? It was such a wonderful project. I want to make sure maybe we revisit publicizing it some more.
Yeah.
And do we have any idea besides us who's gone there and done it? Has anyone had any feedback? And is there any way to do that to encourage people to go?
So I know Debbie Costine did a little walk through the forest. Jenny's family walked through, right? I don't know if I've actually had any other interactions. I can't really think of any, but yeah, I think to your point, Freddie, it's always something good now that, we have another opportunity because we want to do names for the trails,
Mhm.
right? And this ties into the Choate Fund grant. So we're going to release that survey to the town and say, hey, while you're in there, check this out. So that's another opportunity. And
That's great.
we can ask them to post their pictures, but people don't always want to do that.
Well, where would they post them?
Well, they could post them on the Trails Committee the Facebook page, and we can share, because Stewardship doesn't have a Facebook. I'm not trying to take credit for it. I'm just trying to, that's one option. And we could highlight their pictures on the website if we wanted to on the page, as these are visitors' pictures, something like that. And we could encourage people, if you want to post your pictures, we'll use them on the web page. People always like a little thing.
On the Stewardship webpage.
Yep, the Stewardship.
And then give
page.
our webpage address. Yeah, I just think you want to keep pumping it out there because it's not a place, I still get lots and lots and lots of people, even with our new signage, saying, we have a town forest? Where's that?
They're living under a rock.
I know. So aren't some of our critters. So let's get out there and get people to go find them, right?
Yeah, so I think the survey will help in that way, Freddie. That's a
Yeah,
good.
and I think just tell people, hey, I don't know where to put that. Have you been? Oh, I'll put it out on the Natural Sciences of Southborough Facebook group, but it's not a family group. So maybe put it out on the Southborough Parents Share and Care. They changed their name, but
We did.
hey,
We did.
no, but again,
I get it. Yep. Because
when you do the other, yeah.
Yeah.
Just it's such a wonderful event to not.
I agree. I mean, we should do it every season. I mean, not every season, sorry, every spring, summer season. Like every year we should highlight, hey, by the way,
Don't
I'm
forget
going to
the
try to see if my
trails
church
too.
will take their church kids there. Like, why not?
Mhm.
Mm.
So then the good news is that our grant proposal was accepted.
Oh,
So that's wonderful news. And that was actually very, I can just quickly go through it because I know we spent a lot of time, but it had a lot of components to it. So it was not only a collaboration or a joint venture with Trails and Stewardship, but it also, we were able to put a line item in for the Eagle Scout that's doing Breakneck Hills kiosk, $200 to support his project. So that was something that was good for them. And then what else do? We did signage that we talked about, and so a dog waste educational campaign. So there was actually a few posts in the Southborough, the Share and Care page about dog waste and the problem in Southborough, town-wide. So this educational program will tie in all the Bark Ranger stuff, and we'll have like a couple months of a promotion and just kind of pouring out, outreach and education and maybe we do a table at Breakneck if we're feeling comfortable about that, and getting some of those ideas out. So, and then putting dog waste signs strategically throughout town, including Breakneck Hill, and that kind of stuff. So it includes map boards, a couple map boards, one at Woodland, one at Walnut, and directional signs coming into Walnut, because once you get past that nice blue sign or bright blue
Like,
sign,
where do I go?
where do I go? And
Yeah.
you may instinctually follow the SVT signs, but if I'm looking for town forest, I'm looking for the blue. So I put up a couple of temporary laminated, because I know someone with a laminator. I'll stop saying that one day, but I can't help it. I love it so much. So I put up a couple of little laminated blue signs so they can follow their way now, but we'll replace those with real signs. And we also incorporated a guided hike. And we have a little stipend for a leader, and so that's that. I think
what is a leader? What does that mean?
a hiker, someone to lead the hike. So someone with
Naturalist or something.
Let me throw in, we were
okay.
just talking about Larry Millman, Mushroom Man, fun guy.
Yeah.
We could do that again.
Mhm.
Although,
Mushrooms have a season.
what?
Like-
Mushrooms, yeah.
Yeah.
The fall.
Fall.
Yeah, and actually, town forest wasn't necessarily the best place to find them, so we could.
Except in the last few years, when it has been really wet, I could share with you tons of pictures of, it was one year in particular, it was a wet, maybe moist year. So many different kinds of mushrooms. I've never seen such a variety, but I'm sure it just depends on the conditions, and you're the mushroom expert.
No, I'm not, but he was, and
Yeah.
it didn't seem to matter if we found mushrooms or not. We had so much fun. But
Yeah.
actually, there's fungi, whatever. That it's not always mushrooms.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot right now in ecology because of all the wood chips we put down. Who knew that
Mm.
grew mushrooms?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just throwing that out as an idea, but it's your grant to consider.
Does that grant expire?
I don't think so. It's such a vague, there's not a lot of information about the grant itself. It's very local, very, kind of laid back, and the Trails Committee last year, we were efficient with our budget and had some extra funds left over. So we reached out to John Warren and asked him, hey, could we pay for some signage in this area? He's like, sure, go ahead. So there was some flexibility to kind of reallocate some money accordingly, and it wasn't very strict. And there aren't any reporting requirements, but as a courtesy, following up and saying, hey, thank you, and sending pictures and stuff, he, I think that's, a good way to kind of close that out. So yeah, so that was fun to, and thank you, Joyce, for all of your.
So I know it's not part of the typical, and not your grant maybe, but while we're talking about the Bark Ranger program, I really think it would be an interesting event to get little signs on little sticks made up that there is no poop fairy, and stick them right in all the bags around the trails and all the dog poop. Just do a, just spend a day, go around, stick them in, and then, collect them, and then, a few weeks later, do it again.
I love that idea.
A couple random events like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love it too.
It could be a whole.
Leave it there for a few days, or a week, and then, if they get thrown away, then that's, but just, because people in the past told me, oh, that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And it's like, what do you mean it doesn't happen?
It happens all the time. And Freddie, was there I'm trying to remember, had you previously shared, I think, some images of what that sign could be?
They actually have them online. Yeah, I can send it to you. There's there's like, one's a circle, one's in a diamond shape, but it's pretty much the same little saying, and it's green, and it's like,
so it's more like those little flags on just a thin metal post that you stick in, as opposed to like the bigger signs we've been ordering.
What I was thinking is, I know somebody who knows somebody that has a laminator. Not even, but not even that. But last summer, Liz, who was doing work at the the pollinator gardens with us, she made up these signs, and it was just on like a popsicle stick almost, and then she had a laminated thing like poison ivy to make people be aware not to be in that area. And I think we could do it better than that, but I don't think it has to. We can discuss what kind of sign, but I was thinking of something more on a dowel type stick.
What about one of those long marshmallow sticks that you use to
roast marshmallows?
Yeah, they're small.
But I don't know that those are sturdy enough. Those tend to be a little thick. No.
Ooh,
so I was thinking, like, those just flags people use to say, oh, this is where my irrigation system is. And it has like a little vinyl-y kind of thin ribbony flag. Like, it's really just sort of like a stiff piece of wire. Is that the kind of thing Gemini Signs could do?
I wasn't thinking of how are you going to attach the sign to that?
No, I thought maybe it was the kind of thing they could actually make.
Oh, interesting.
But if it's something, can we just order, like you're saying you can order it online? You mean like on Amazon?
Me? I'm thinking we can just take the image and make a photocopy of it, and I'll make sure it's not, not copyrighted, but, just make an image and then make copies of it and print them.
to
Staple it to a,
I would like to do that all over town for a week, for, as part of this. I think that's a great idea, Freddie. It would really
Beals
be-
Preserve would probably like it too. But I mean, here we go. We said we
great.
finally have trash cans, and somebody even made at Breakneck, somebody made a place where they bring little bags and stuff them in. Remember we saw that?
I saw it, yeah.
And so like there's just no excuse anymore, right?
Can I ask the committee a question? Do you guys, so it's been proposed in different forums, like, hey, why don't you guys provide bags and trash cans? So I know why we're not providing trash cans, but
But we are.
well, at Breakneck, but not across town. My question is there any benefit to providing bags if you don't have a trash can? So for example, is half of the promotion better than nothing? Like if you're giving away some bags, is there any value in that? Or do you think that if you do that, people are going to just leave them out anyway?
Well, here's a question. Where are you doing this?
I mean, it might be Breakneck. It might be another location.
Not on the Reservoir Trail, right?
No, because you can't have dogs at the reservoir.
Correct. So I'm
that's a
just
good
trying to
question.
think of where else is there? The Beals Preserve and Breakneck Hill. What else? Town
Oh,
Forest.
and then town forest, and yeah, all right. So I guess the answer is no.
Well, I don't know. People, when we have trash cans, and they go to the trouble of bringing their own little doggy bag, and they still can't bring it back down to the parking lot.
Right.
But it won't really matter. Yeah.
I don't understand it. There's a fine in town. It's illegal to do that, not pick
Right.
up.
But how much is the fine? Do you know?
I think it's $25, but is part of our Park Ranger thing to have a police officer there to write tickets.
Can we write tickets?
I don't want to do that,
I don't either. I'm just.
but I'm
joking.
saying, if it's illegal, it's on the books. Why is it on the books if it's not, like many things, not ever looked at?
So, in gearing up to, like, I think this is something we should proceed with. I know the Choke Fund does fund some signs and stuff, and we also have funding through the town of Southborough. So if we think we're going to do this and there's those funds available, like we should right now go buy as many dowels or whatever. If we think we can figure out a way to design and laminate a sign that it would be actually a DIY thing, it would only be the dowels would have to purchase, which I know are very inexpensive, but I don't know.
Well, we could look at the whole, getting actual signs, but I'm thinking, for the whole Breakneck Hill trails, what are we talking, 20, 30? And so how about this? The Choate Fund is a different grant. We have some signed monies available in our fund for Breakneck Hill. Why don't we say that Joyce and I will look into it and purchase not to exceed $1,000 of and much less hopefully, but I'm just giving us a thing. We'll purchase not to exceed $1,000. And
Okay.
I'm thinking maybe we can do it for like 50, but let's just for the sake of,
I don't know how much dowels.
we don't know. Or we might not want to go with dowels if we're going to do it a few times. And we will do that if we give Joyce the authority to work with me to come up with a plan, and then we can just do it because our budget runs out at the end of the month, and that will just give us that flexibility. Is that all right?
Yeah.
So I make a motion that we approve up to no more than $1,000 for Poop Ferry signs to be determined by Joyce and Freddie working together before June 30th, if we
I have
can.
a second.
I'll
I'll
second.
second that.
All in favor, Jim,
I'm in favor.
Kat,
In favor?
Jenny,
In favor?
Freddie,
In favor?
and I'm in favor. The motion passes. Terrific. I think we've had some really great signage coming out that we've been doing, and that this would be coupled with a long priority of getting on top of the poop.
Oh, I want to say something that's been mentioned to me on our signage at Breakneck Hill, that it might be better to have a little blurb per the the wildlife habitat signs and everything to say per the stewardship committee or something, so that in the case of signs being removed, that people know they're removing an official sign and that there's not some nut making those signs up and putting them around.
Yeah, we
this
had
isn't
had some
official?
back and forth on that and chose not to this round. So as we replace, we can maybe make a note to do that.
Or new signs, just to think about it.
Okay.
Can I ask a clarifying question with the signs, which I think is a great idea? So the signs that the funding you just approved would just be for Breakneck Hill. So if we, as part of the Choate Fund project, wanted to do a more like town-wide initiative and tag on to that, can we do something like that so that when you're flagging or tagging Breakneck Hill, we're actually flagging and tagging the entire town? And I'm not going to ask the committee to help with that, but I think if we go after this, this is a really great awareness opportunity that if we do the entire town, and I mean, I'd be happy to have a few volunteers to be responsible to pick up all the flags so we're not leaving anything behind. But I think it'd be really impactful, and it would be the magnitude. But I guess we'd have to really figure out what months to do that, because people they're going to start leaving again for vacation.
Yeah, if we did it once or twice over the summer and then once in the fall, I think that'd be great.
Yeah, that's me.
And I'm willing to flag poop and pick up signs too.
You can do it in the winter, you can do it in the spring, you can do it January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, because the dogs are out there doing their thing all year long. So I'm not sure that there's, obviously when more people are in town, it might be
more used is what I'm thinking. You might reach a bigger.
Yeah, all I care about is the one person leaving the bag that day.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because they're leaving it 365 days a year. Some of them.
Yeah. So Freddie, you and I have some creative work ahead of us, which is awesome.
But this does not replicate the signage that you're working on with the Bark Ranger. This is a temporary, like an event thing.
Right.
Right. Okay.
Yes. Is there anything else, Kat, on that Choate Fund? We're waiting for the account to be set up.
Yes, there's nothing else. We've reached out to the accountant. We're waiting for them to reply back on how things should work with that donation to the scouts, because I think that's the time sensitive thing, is to get them, the scout, the donation so they can buy supplies.
Oh, I had a question. Does that satisfy his fundraising needs, or does he still need more money?
I think he might need more money. Lumber went through the roof, so whatever he anticipated is going to, it's probably a little more now.
So if we did an announcement, and this will come up later on the agenda, if we did an announcement and if we did some sort of announcement for my Southborough and then asked Melissa to, send it out in an email newsletter type thing from Concom, is that something we would be comfortable in saying you can contact this troop to help fund this project at Breakneck Hill? Or do we stay away from that?
So is that are there prohibitions against that kind of thing?
There
Well,
might be.
It's the scouts' responsibility, as I understand it, to do the fundraising. So I like that opportunity to support them. I don't know if that takes away from the scout doing it or not.
Okay. I would say that he did have a sign with some little rip tear-offs at the, and I didn't think they were well placed.
Oh, okay.
I think maybe we could help, say one of them was as you were leaving at the Beecology side on the post that the fence, chain goes in.
Yeah.
And I only noticed it because I was like, who's putting something there? Not, you know what I mean? So I went over to look at it, but it wasn't, wouldn't have been able to read it if I hadn't have been thinking someone was putting up, I don't know, like selling a car or something, because it has the little tear-offs.
Yeah.
Did they ever put up a table? Do you know? I know they had asked.
He had given him permission, and you had told his dad, and I had texted him, and I don't know.
Yeah.
And I had told him multiple times, oh, is there a way? Because I was interested in making a donation personally. And I said, oh, is there a Venmo or something I can? And no one ever responded. So part of it really is on the scout.
Okay. So I'm withdrawing any comments I just made.
Oh,
Well,
no. I mean, I'm willing to help. I guess I'm a little uncomfortable with the Conservation Commission, like doing
Yeah,
some
you're
sort
right.
of mailing.
I was out of line thinking.
I
Yeah.
don't think it's out of line.
Yeah, I don't think it's out of line either. I'm just saying.
I meant I hadn't thought it through.
Yeah.
How's that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just forget that.
Well, he is going to
Erase it.
get something from the choke fund, which is awesome.
So good.
Are we good with that item, Kat, or is there
Yeah,
more?
thank you. Nope, I appreciate it. It's all good.
Okay, so we have some ecology items on the agenda also that including some opportunities to expand the size of the garden where community gardens is not using some space, and some opportunity, like we had talked last time, we need, there's still some damage and loss of plants we care deeply about because of deer, and some other items on the agenda. So Freddie, do you want to take us through those and see what
Yep.
decisions we have?
Sure. So first of all, the deer fencing. And this also, I'm going to, unless it's on later, I'm going to tap into the ecology research meadow as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so particularly there, it would be likely greatly beneficial to have deer fencing. And Chris Politan says he's using this, and we're somewhat familiar with the solar, and it's gotten better, I guess, solar electric fencing, and deer can jump over, and normally you need like either an 8-foot fence, it's wicked expensive as we know, or a couple of this electric fence. He said it's a 2-dimensional, and it, for some reason, you have like one like at like 2 or 3 feet, and then 2 feet away another taller strand, and it confuses them with their depth perception somehow, and they don't jump it. And it's not that expensive. He's going to price it out for us. It's not the most attractive thing because you'll have a wire and then a second wire, but and then you'd have to turn it off to go inside to look. But this is for while the plants are getting established. Because if you walk around Breakneck Hill, there's plenty of plants there that the deers aren't eating everything, right?
Right.
But maybe it's because we're putting in these natives that maybe even if they're established, maybe there'll be more. We'll find out. But it's just something we're investigating. And I just wanted to let you know that. And also the question is for the Beecology Research Garden, which is way more public and would be, I think, very difficult to figure out how to do it that's not unsightly and doesn't, and I'll come to this in a minute, but, for people to get in there to do the weeding and watering, the volunteers and the research that's happening, and then eventually for regular people. So, visitors. But we're going to have to decide something on that in a minute too. So I'm going to investigate it, but not make a decision. I mean, certainly I'm not making any decision on my own, but I'm not sure that's the way we want to go. But what did happen is after not really seeing much deer activity over there, after we put the garden in, all of a sudden I needed to, not all of a sudden, but we had flagged some of the skullcap, mad dog skullcap in the wetlands
Yeah.
with the botanist.
Yeah.
And I went to go look at it, and I was like, earlier I couldn't get there. And then all of a sudden I was like, well, this is a nice trail right through here, right through the fenced area. And the deer have made a beeline trail right through the wetlands to Beecology. And we saw their footprints and we saw the damaged plants. So we know we're now, part of their regular
The salad bar.
buffet. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're right there. So they're coming in, they're eating. Last year, the swamp milkweed, which, the flower is the important thing for the pollinators. And we had a hefty population. It's growing again this year. Didn't hurt the plant, but they ate and I didn't think deer ate milkweed because of the toxins in it.
Yeah.
But I guess they'll eat the flower head because it doesn't have the toxin. So we had all the flower heads gone, and that also meant no milkweed seeds of the swamp milkweed, not only in Beecology, but the whole wetland area. All the tops were eaten off. There were no seed pods. So, you know, I can't do anything about the whole wetlands, but we may wish to do something about a deer issue. So that's just something I'm investigating. Okay. And Chris Politan has this plan and he's going to price it out for us. He didn't think it would be, you know, he didn't think it would be like in the tens of thousands for a very large area, you
Mm.
know, and I'm being exaggerating, but we know tall chain link fences are expensive. So we'll look into that. And then the other issue, I'm trying to read.
Pricing it, including the installation, or is that something like, is it something that's
I don't
literally
know.
out sticking something in the ground?
We're not doing the installation. It would,
Yeah.
you know, we'd need some help doing that.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's the deer fencing. Then the next thing is the size. I'm not sure what we're talking about. The community gardens.
Yes.
They didn't use it all. And at first I thought there was a problem, but they said no, they decided to go smaller so we could have, they said you could have the rest, Freddie. And that was Isabel's husband. I go, well, you know, that's not my, you know, we can't decide that, but I'll bring it to the committee. And the issue is, no matter what happens, we have to deal with it because all of that land that they're not putting into garden spots is going to be huge weed pressure that will come into, you know, from the seeds into ecology that will have to be weeding. The opportunity to use the land, I want to be realistic. What if next year they want it back? So how do we manage it and for not having
you guys hear?
weeds? Huh?
Oh, I couldn't hear anything for a while.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, so how do we manage that and maybe take advantage of it for the, do you want to say something, Kat?
I was going to say, wouldn't it be great as if we had a raised bed on wheels that we could just relocate as we needed?
I don't know what a raised bed we would use for because I'm talking about, this is bigger than all of Beecology. So are you having a tractor trailer?
Oh, that's a little bit larger than I had in my mind.
Yeah, so the issue could be,
If I mean, I hear your point about what if they wanted it back another time, but once we subsumed it, it wouldn't really be available to them. And I think it's just like, once we've taken it, controlled the weeds with the wood chips and done more planting there, then it's just kind of out of reach. I mean, it just becomes, okay, that's part of Beecology. Beecology expanded a little into areas that they're not using. So I guess I wouldn't hesitate to take it on that front, that they might ask for it back.
okay, so the two other things that occur to me is what was recommended is to get it into shape because do you remember last year at Beecology we had dirt and then as we started planting all of a sudden we had weeds up to our knees.
Mm-hmm.
Well, those weeds are starting to grow in that nice dirt that they have over there
Already. Yeah.
yeah, you're already seeing it sprout. I don't know how bad it will be, but I'm assuming it's the same thing because when you get new dirt brought in, it's not like it's weed seed free. They
Right.
say they sift it, but they sift pebbles out of it. They're not sifting tiny seeds. And it's
Yeah.
coming from land just like Breakneck Hill. That's what they told me. So what was recommended is two processes. One, we could start planting, which I don't know that I have the energy to do that this year. Two, we could get someone to, and this is not the preferred method, but considering this has already been rototilled, so it's not a normal wild field, you put a cover crop in, and then as it goes to, just before it goes to seed, you turn it over and you plant another cover crop. And then just before that goes to seed, you turn it over and then it's ready for, a winter sow of another little meadow area. Or we could do it in in, sections, like one section, just one plant, another section, because we had talked about collecting seeds more, or even Dr. G. Gear's plan for the plants, like even in ecology, some of the plants, there's not enough of them. There's a massing matter that makes a difference. So a minimum, he says, of a square meter, which is 3.28 feet by 3.28 feet, I think, to have one solid plant. And, you don't have to do that for gardens, but that's a preference. So if you seeded and use separate seeds, you could do plots like that. It could be developed because we don't have to make up our minds right now. So here's the two things to do. We could cover crop it and then get it seed ready and or plant ready, because even if we plant it into it now, we're going to have the problem. We'd have to do something about those weeds, right? Like
It's funny, Freddie.
Cardboard.
I anticipated you saying, oh, one of the options would be to like put more wood chips down there.
And do what with the wood chips?
I mean, just so that weeds don't come through until we can plant. Because just like at ecology, you push the wood chips aside and dig into the dirt when you're ready to plant.
Actually, we haven't done that. We cardboarded.
Yeah, okay.
Brought topsoil in, planted, and then put mulch on top.
Yeah, okay.
So that's a pretty large area to cardboard.
Yes.
Bring in topsoil, plant. I'm not sure all the options. So I thought we could look into the cover crop. It keeps coming up over and over again as a thing to do.
And what is a cover crop? Like, what is the kind of thing that you plant?
I'd have to look into it, but like buckwheat or something. I don't know. Something that's an annual.
I think, wait, I was at a presentation recently, and I think I have notes that I can get back to. I can let you know, Freddie. I have notes somewhere.
Yeah, and I also thought, because if we're working with somebody who's a meadow installer, that they know which ones work well. And with Jenny's notes, I'd love to hear that. But
I found it. My life is in my planner. So this is from someone who she's some official like soil person. I really don't remember the person's title. I could go back and find it, but this is someone who knows about soil health. She said winter oats are good for roots, and then you mix with winter peas because it adds nitrogen to the soil. And some people use winter rye, but winter rye is weedy and it comes back, so it's actually not so great. So a mix of winter oats and winter peas.
I hadn't heard the peas, but the nitrogen issue, something to be aware of. I'm not sure that with the native plants we're as interested in nitrogen. That's something maybe, I'm not sure. We can look into it. I heard about what was the other one you said? The winter oats?
Yeah, winter oats.
But again, somebody who's been doing this would be good to also get their input, because I'm not sure what your presentation was on, but different plants require different stuff in the soil. People always do too much for native plants and then it's too much.
Yeah, I think, I had asked what was I don't know if I asked specifically for native plants or not. I think I asked what
those sound similar to what I've heard, Jenny.
And this person said that you need to establish them early enough in September because they do die back in the winter. And then
so our goal was to do it over this, so this might be different. Our goal was to plant now, turn it over, plant again, and then sow the actual natives in the fall, which isn't over the winter.
Yeah, so I don't know if there are other plants that you can. Yeah.
So I'm just saying, Chris Politan is working with NRCS on a 25-acre meadow installation. So it's not like, and then I also have Nick, who works with Larry Weiner, who got busy in the summer. It's a little bit, so those are two things I just wanted a little time to investigate. If we could get it off the road and we could fund it, I think it'd be good to do it. The other alternative is, two things happened. So two alternatives: wood chips down to keep the weeds off. And then that would mean next year we have to scrape the wood chips and the mushrooms off to plant, because we'll have mushrooms. And Or we can also right now, I was up at the top pollinator garden, and you know those black tarps, the black plastic we had used for the,
Yeah.
one of them blew into the hummingbird garden and smothered some of the vegetation. And I had these 2 grad students there that, and they brought it back down to Beecology. So I'm thinking it's not solid black plastic because it ripped and stuff, but maybe we, if there was still some rocks left there, we could just tap it down. It would help keep the weed down till we decided what to do. So I thought that was something for the short term. Now, the third thing is, so those are the options I'd like to investigate and then get back to you. And if we had to have an emergency meeting to decide to go forward with something, I think we could pull it together, right? I would hope. And then the other thing is that the, where she showed me or where I was told they weren't using, it was a straight line across. Now there are 2 more beds in the middle, which creates a really awkward, you couldn't plow that, you couldn't, so that needs maybe a different treatment. But I want to ask Isabel, because nobody's there yet, if they're going to do it, if they're going to use it, why those
Yeah.
they were added in and nobody seems to be there yet. And then, not our business, but it was really interesting. I was in Lincoln to get plants, and they had, it was next to where they have a their community garden, which was, you know, people are required, because we went and stopped and talked to some women who were gardening there, and we asked them, you know, about a lot of our questions. And they make, if you want to have a plot, never mind paying, you have to do work. And one of the jobs you have to do, there's somebody who does spring cleanup, because after they rototill, stuff comes up, and there's people that have to go and pick up after they're done. They would be they're well-established, beautiful gardens, and they would be somebody it would be beneficial to look into. And I'm just saying, from my perspective, we're not in charge of the community gardens, but other towns, they have like a committee or something, like to leave that all on one person who's the, you know, coordinator, who gets no support from the people using it, doesn't seem like it's quite right.
Yeah, and you know, when you made that reference to the community gardeners are required to, you know, help out, like a cleanup committee and that kind of thing, it reminds me of some of the earlier CSAs that people would participate in. It wasn't just about paying a fee to get your like weekly vegetables. It was, yeah, you pay a fee, you get your vegetables, but you also have to work, you know, an hour a week on the gardens or
And
whatever.
she also said, like, helping to stake out was, you know, you had
Yeah,
to be on one of the jobs, so it wasn't left to a few people. And also, you get more sense of ownership as a community. And I will say, already somebody didn't secure stuff in their garden, so trash started blowing across
yeah,
already.
yeah, yeah. I think that those are fabulous ideas.
Not our job, but maybe we suggest them to conservation, who the community gardens are under. And we keep bumping, why do we spend so much time dealing with trash at the community garden? And I'm not blaming the coordinator, who seems to me not to have any real support from the other gardeners. She says she sends emails out and gets no response. And
I know she's got at least one person who I met up there one time who helped me move some stuff from the shed, who's been helping her. But
that's one person you said, and her
yeah,
husband.
one person. So I think, to Freddie's point, she doesn't have like a network of people who are willing to say, you know, I'll come out and help. I think it's largely her and her husband who does an awful lot of the heavy lift as well. So I think we,
Not for now, but just to put it on our list to
mhm,
follow
mhm.
up on, and
Yeah,
check out
and make it
Lincoln.
an expectation that, you know, you're going to get a community garden plot. Here's 5 volunteer opportunities, or, you know, half a dozen. Which one are you signing up for? like make it
Keeping up
part
the
of.
compost and, other wrapping up the
Managing
hoses.
compost, marking and measuring, cleaning up at the end of the season. Like there's all kinds of things.
And then the other issue is the hoses didn't come far enough down. Like last year, there was one, I think there were 2 more stands closer to Beecology. And certainly that's not up to them to water further down, but I don't know why. It seems like some of their gardens aren't going to have enough hoses for them. If you look at it, if you take a walk, look at how far up. And I was there also. When I got there, one of the hoses had been dripping. It was a huge, huge, huge puddle. And then I went later, and I guess they hadn't taken the wire that goes around like a price tag thing. You have to cut it. Well, somehow it was caught, and it was a spigot type, spray hose, and it wouldn't shut down. So it was left open. And then also so anytime the water went on, even if you weren't using that hose, it was dripping. But there was also a problem. I reported that the main shut-off valve didn't shut off all the way.
Has that been squared away?
I haven't. I saw it when I was there. I reported it. It's not really, and some of the gardeners were aware of it, so it's not really my job.
I know
to
that
check
she called me once about some various issues requiring a plumber, but between her and Melissa, it seemed to get.
That was fixed. This was separate.
Right. No, I understand that. So no one, I mean, she hasn't reached out to me on any of those things, and she often does. So I'm hoping that that's been squared away.
Okay. So then, let me see what else is here. So we did successfully seed, I hope successfully, the Beecology meadow. And then we have some hay that we sprinkled down on top. You want a light covering. I hope it's not too much, but we'll double check. And then the goal is not to water, to let them self-seed. And then even if it's a drought, that's my understanding. And then what happens is when the plants get to be about 18 inches tall, you come in and we'll hire someone to do this, to do a string trim. So you cut it, you don't mow it, right? But it's a high cut, and that will then favor the native plants and discourage the weeds. And you keep doing that. It's a few years of, there is maintenance getting it established. So there's that. And then there's, see what were the other things on the good news, 2 big things. Oh, there's events, so that's separate. Before I get to that, Monday, Rob, I don't know what day it was. It wasn't Monday, but someday this week, Rob asked if I could meet him there at 10 o'clock because he had 2 grad students. So we are now one of the research sites for 2 of his grad students who are doing research at a few locations across the state. And I have a video, but she hasn't emailed it to me, so I'm hoping I get that. Where one of the young women, I believe her name's Chelsea, described what her research project is. And basically, we're going to see at Beecology call it Triangle Garden on Wildflower Hill, and then maybe some other places, little bags tied on to the blossoms. So the project is Penstemon. Right now, the Hirsutus is getting ready to bloom, and say there's 10 buds on one plant. Half of them, maybe 5 of them, have these little bags tied around them. That will prevent pollinators to getting to the flower when it blooms. The goal is that's a some plants have male and female parts and they can self-pollinate.
Yeah.
And the research they're trying to find out is how well do the
Oh.
seeds, if there's no pollinator. So if we lose their pollinators, how well are they equipped to really keep on
Right.
I'm making that part up, but that's what I'm saying. How good are the seeds if you don't have pollinators, right? And the way to do it is on the same plant, and you have ones that, have the ability for pollinators to hit and ones that don't. And then the other woman is doing her research on noticing which plants butterflies are using for nectar. Because there's everyone, which plants they need for host plants. Those lists are everywhere. But like with monarchs and milkweed, by the time the caterpillars come up, the milkweed's not what they're nectaring on, because that's long gone most of the time. So what plants are they using for nectar? And to know this for all of the, particularly the at risk. So if you're planting host plants for the butterfly, you should have nectar plants for when they're butterflies, host plants for the, the caterpillars. And so that's a project she's working on. And I'm very excited that Breakneck Hill has been included in this research because of our long-term relationship with Dr. G. Gear.
Yeah, that's terrific. Those, I think having those students around probably also gets visitors curious too. So.
Well, what I was going to suggest is that we do put out a blurb, because, people are going to wonder what the little bags are.
Oh,
And
good
we
idea.
could talk about, that we're part of, and I'll try to get them to write me something, to write it up and put it out there, because it's also great. A lot of people don't know what wonderful things this committee has created, for not just for people walking and viewing, but for, contributing to real important scientific research. And that also we can benefit too and participate in, because there will be opportunities, like learning how, I'm hoping we'll have some training on how to identify bees, but maybe also taking pictures. Rob's going to move into taking pictures of butterflies using plants for nectar. And when we were there Wednesday, G up at the top of the, at the top of the hill, before you head up towards the summit, that didn't get mowed. There's a lot of sassafras saplings. Sassafras is the host plant for the spice bush swallowtail.
Yeah.
And they were all flying around there, laying eggs. And you know that the spice bush swallowtail caterpillar is the cutest caterpillar in the world, right?
Yes, I do.
So let's go find that. I mean, that could be a walk we could do.
And Freddie, when you say have them write something and get it out there, are you thinking like my Southborough, a posting on our new kiosk?
I'm thinking both. I'm thinking they'll
Yeah.
write it up to send to me, because they have my email.
Yeah.
And then I'll send it to you, and you can write a blurb that these things are, that we've, to let the public know we've installed a wildflower meadow.
Yep.
For research. Dr. G. Gear created the flower mix and purchased it for us. He, he's got his grad students are working, and one of the grad students has, I think she's a part-time student, so she's going to be around for a long time. So we'll get to know her, and, I think, remember Ellen was with us for a few years.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Chelsea's going to be with us for a while.
Great.
And, I just think it's exciting that we're part of important research. I think it's important, I think it will turn. I don't think it's just well, we'll find out. But the goal is, if we know that these bumblebees are declining and they have certain flowers that they use, what happens if those flowers aren't getting pollinated?
Yeah.
So there we go. And then the next one is, I want to save the date, June 13th. To Sunday.
Okay.
Everyone available? At
Yeah.
all? Morning, noon, night, Cat?
I'm going to be out of town, hopefully backpacking when it's not raining.
Oh, backpacking. Sorry, but we're going to, it's the native pollinator task force of the Metro West Conservation Alliance wanted to do some garden tours of the Beecology display gardens. And these are not garden tours like what we did on our native plant garden tours, because a lot of them are just being installed and it's more for showing people how to do it. And also, you know, that the research garden isn't your typical display garden, right? It's not, planted in squares. It's a research garden, so different, but it still showcases the flowers that are going to be in these gardens that you could have at home. So we wanted to have that, and we're having a pollination preservation month. We don't call them pollinator gardens, they're pollination preservation. It's the whole plant animal relationship. And Dr. Jagir will be there, and I thought we should have it be a grand opening for us and all the volunteers in Southborough, because we haven't invited Southborough to come learn about it.
Oh,
Does
okay.
that work for you guys?
Is that all on the 13th, Freddie?
Yeah, do you want some of it another day, Kat?
No. It's okay.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
No, it's not about me. It's fine.
because then what happens is can't do it the next week and it's Father's Day, and he can't do Saturdays because he's got a life and some kids. And so Sunday it is, and not Father's Day. And then if we go further, it becomes getting closer to the 4th of July weekend. So I don't know if we were to do this. Jim, will you be able to be there?
I'm not sure right now.
Would morning or afternoon be better?
I haven't a clue right now.
Jenny?
I know one of my kids has a birthday party to go to, but probably I can be there. You know, maybe I can't make the whole thing, but you know, I probably can be there for some portion of it, or possibly all of it.
I mean, I'm not even sure how long. Like, I was thinking maybe do Southborough first and then have Rob there, and then my head hurts. I'm sorry. Is it too quick to put this together and announce it? The 13th, that's 2 weeks away, right?
I can do it. I know I'm around.
So we just put it out there, we get it out there, and I wanted to invite the volunteers to be thanked by us. And I know, Joyce, you did that lovely event last year, but also to showcase it to the townspeople who really don't know what it's all about, right?
Right.
What are we doing behind that little fence?
So what exactly what all do you think is going to be needed? Like, is it basically you're going to talk a little bit and then Professor Jagir is going to talk, or
Well, I think it would be great to have Joyce as the chair, welcome people,
Mhm.
say
can
the
do that.
Stewardship Committee has, been working with Dr. Jagir, and then invite, like maybe just pretend 9:00, and then and seeing how long Rob will stay, either an hour later, so 9:00, invite people from Southborough, and they can come later too, but see if we can get people there, say whatever time that is. And then an hour later, I'd invite the other group to come if they should, or 2 hours later. I don't want to be standing around waiting for people to come. And then the focus is a little bit different from Southborough people and the MCA folks, because the MCA folks, we're not opening it up to a big tour. We're opening it up. We have a thing called ambassadors,
Right.
that we're trying to create this program throughout the watershed to get these gardens in. And right now just recently, we started another one at the Beals Preserve, thanks to Kat and her Boy Scout help. And that's in early stages of cardboard and wood chips. And then we have another one in Weston. They put one in adjacent to a rail trail. And then she's part of our Facebook group, and she went up and started one in Chelmsford. And then there's Lincoln has some. So, there's a couple of other days people will be, I think the 27th is a day we'll be doing the Lincoln and Weston one. And, oh, Concord has something. So these aren't all fully formed gardens. Some are just being planted. So people can go and see how to do it. So that's different. And that would be me talking to them about that portion of it later. But the first part would be for Southborough, inviting Southborough to come. And we could put up some signs and thanking the volunteers as well and making them feel like they were part of something important because they were.
Because they were, yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I'm in, Freddie, and
Does this sound good? And Kat, I'm so sorry you can't be there, but,
I know.
and Jenny, let me know what time do you know what time the birthday is?
Oh, it's in the afternoon. So hopefully this would work. So I will check with my other half and confirm with you.
Okay.
Anything else on Beecology? I had also put shed. Is there any progress there?
Well, we talked about getting a shed because we need one.
Yeah.
And the issue is where we could put it that doesn't go within a
Like wetlandy area.
yeah, I'm sorry, someone talking in the background. Can you move on to something else? You still have a quorum, right?
Yep.
I have to go help
Yep.
someone.
Let's jump to number 8 because I think that's kind of easy and maybe we can take a quick vote on that. So we've had in place a permit allowing us to do certain kinds of things within the wetlands 20-foot no mow zone, and that's going to be expiring, and all I need to do to extend that permit allowing us to continue that work is email Melissa requesting that and requesting a 3-year extension. So does anyone want to discuss or raise concerns about that point?
I don't have
we-
any concerns. If you want to
Yeah,
make
no-
a motion.
No concern.
Yeah,
Could
no
someone
concern.
want to make a motion that I do that?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Jim,
I'm in favor.
Jenny,
Yes, in favor.
Kat?
Yes.
I'm in favor. I think Freddie had to step away, but Freddie, okay, so the motion passes. So I will add for my follow-up to email Melissa and request that 3-year extension, which will be very helpful to us.
Sorry, who, it's hard to think and talk and everything and type. Who made the second?
I did.
Okay.
I'm back.
Okay. So we took care of one piece of business while you were gone, Freddie, but we can circle back and finish the discussion on the shed before we move on to some of the other items. So part of it, when you had to step away, you were saying figuring out where it could go given the that there's limitations on because of the wetlands there.
And when I talked with Melissa, she thought putting it next to even though it's not my ideal, putting it next to the existing shed
Oh,
would be flat. But because you have an issue, we have an issue with even if you have, like I was thinking, oh, it would just be something we throw up on cinder blocks. But the reality is, Joyce was explaining when she put hers in, you have to do some foundation work with at least leveling it off and putting some
yeah. When we got
gravel.
our Reed's Ferry, they had these very explicit instructions about digging down and gravel and level and even the size of the gravel. Now that was Reed's Ferry. I don't know what others do, but I would presume there would have to be that some amount of something that has to be done.
Yeah, we don't want to put a shed up that we then find blowing down the road
Right.
in a heavy wind. But shall we look into that? Are we in agreement?
I am. Anyone else?
It sounds good. I don't think you want to place it anywhere where somebody's going to say it's in a wetland or in a buffer zone. So next to the existing shed sounds like a good idea.
And then, because I had thought up by the, you know, where the pump is, the water is for the
Oh,
meadow.
Mm-hmm.
Beth thought that wasn't flat, and then it's not, it's out of sight. Is it more likely to have vandalism? Who knows about that? Do we have to worry about that?
I would worry about it being out of sight of the road. I just would.
Yep.
And also then I started saying, how far from the wetlands is that? It's not that, you know, it's within the buffer. So I think next to the existing shed I could live with, but that goes to something we wanted to put in there, and we have some funds available if this committee. So one of the things is when we're working in the Ecology Garden, there's no sun there. I mean, it's all sun, no shade.
Yeah.
And last year I did a good job trying to get donations of umbrellas and umbrella stands. But the reality is by the time people are getting rid of them, you know, it's like they're done, right?
Yeah.
And I had one really good umbrella stand, but that got repurposed for the chain link.
Yep.
So if it's within the budget that I'll go over with Joyce, because we're coming up to the end of the year, is that something we could get two umbrella stands, 2 umbrellas, and then also a couple of tables? Because I also got a table, but it was a giveaway and it was already starting to warp, and we tried to keep it good, but the you know, the cardboard type stuff inside.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's all falling apart.
Oh, I
And
think it's a great idea to invest in a couple of things like that, because the umbrellas and the umbrella stands will last season after season for quite some time when we can store them away in the winter. And we do have lots of events, seed cleaning, different things where those tables are really a great asset.
so do I have permission to work with Joyce that if it fits within our budget that we get a few, and you know, the lightweight white ones like you have, and then and maybe a couple of chairs and 2 umbrellas and 2 umbrella stands. So we'll put this all together. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And with the shed, depending on what, never mind.
Can I ask a question about the umbrellas? Have you guys, when I say a cantilever umbrella, does anyone know what that looks like? What I mean by that? I'm just curious if you've considered it, Freddie. Can I just show you? Because it might work for you better than a centered umbrella. Do you mind if I show you?
No, go.
Okay, so we have one of these at my house, and it provides some flexibility. And the base is filled with water in our case. And so I was just curious, what it allows you to do is put the base off center. Can you see my screen now?
Yep, we're seeing it.
Yeah, so you can put the base off screen and then you move the umbrella around your area. And so it gives you a little bit more flexibility than just one umbrella that you place.
So my story is, one of the giveaways last summer was one of those, but I don't know what kind of model. It took 3 people to get it up. It was really impossible to take it up. You had to take it all. So we're putting these up and taking them down.
Yeah. Okay.
Because you can't leave them up. You can't even leave it up, I don't think, because of the wind. So how easy is it to put up and down?
Yeah, so we leave ours up we've left it up all year round, and it folds, the umbrella folds down, and you zip it, and it has not blown over. But you would, if with these large bases, you would want it to have kind of, I mean, it would be difficult to move around. So I think that's probably not going to work for you. But if you had a location where you know you're always going to want an umbrella that kind of circles around, it might work, and you keep that base in one location, and that can get rained on year round. We kept it out in the winter too, and just lessen the water so it didn't expand and stuff. But
So we could do one of those and one of the other kinds that we can, because sometimes we want it inside for, we want it inside for weeding. You know, if you're there and it's really gets hot and it limits the ability of people to stay and work. And sometimes if you have just even a little bit of shade that they can go under for a little while and then they come out again. The
Yeah.
other thing that happened was I put it out. We had an event last fall for the MCA, and I just, for the heck of it, I put it out, out in front, and boy, people were, and that was with COVID. So they were like taking polite turns sitting in the shade because it was just brutal sun. So, and I would also, yeah, so we can investigate getting, and you can help supply that info to Joyce.
I could, yeah.
Okay. So then the other thing was, I just wanted to mention that Dr. Jagir gave us some more plants.
Nice.
These are ones I wasn't able to purchase. And well, actually, we couldn't find them anywhere in the country. And then I found them at some place. And then by the time I went to purchase them, they were sold out. But I had told Rob, so he had bought them out. But so he brought some over. But I also visited Leonardo yesterday, and he gave us lupine, the right giant purple hyssop, which the seeds we gave last summer, that's for the winter sow, may not have been the ones we marked them as. I was assured that the one we had, which was, I don't want to call anyone out, but I was assured it was the giant hyssop, and it might be the other one that begins with just the FO one. So anyhow, he gave me those, and he also gave me purple milkweed.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Yeah. So
Great.
hopefully we can keep them alive and plant them, because they're not always well, they tend to die on people. Not the hyssop, but the other two might. And he also told me how to plant the lupine with lots of sand, is what he did. So I think that's it on Beecology event.
Okay. The next
I'm going to tell you, I just got a text,
Yep.
and I thought this was happening too. So I had the orchardist working on the apple trees up in the meadow area, and he said he packed up and went home because there was so much bird activity, including bobolinks. And then when I was there with Rob, I thought I saw something coming out of the grass, but I was busy paying attention to the grad students. Dawn just sent me a picture. Popped out of grass, not singing, chipping, which is different. Maybe a good sign. Only a professional would know. But anyhow, it popped out of the grass, and it was behaving different than we've seen before. So maybe there's some nesting going on.
That'd be
Who knows?
awesome.
That would be awesome. Or maybe they're just, he was just popping out of the grass and he's getting ready to fly away. But it's exciting that they're still coming back. And we do have a lot more pruning to be done. I'm going to ask him to come. He thought he was done for a while. I'd like him to come back and do more work in the north pasture.
Yeah.
The trees that needed pruning. And what else? We didn't finish mowing. I'm not ready to have them come back, because there's just too much wildlife activity to start mowing, I think. But
Yeah, it's too late probably in the nesting season, right?
not just the nesting, but the insects and everything, right? So, but maybe having the pruning, I don't think in the north pasture, it's not in the grassland nesting area. I don't know if he'd be bothering them as much. So I'll see what he thinks about that. or else it will continue on in the fall. I wanted to say, did I jump your schedule? I'm sorry. That was just exciting that the bobolinks are there.
I mean, it's fine. That's the mowing, tree work and everything. We can circle back to invasives or postpone it to another meeting, whatever.
I got to talk about the invasives.
Yeah.
So the creeping buttercup, it's a newer invasive. It's on what's called the EDRR, Early Detection Rapid Response. It's not totally well established yet, so they want people when they see it to get rid of it before it gets a stranglehold on it. Well, we had a patch. I kind of noticed it, and then I said, I think that's trouble. And then last year I found out it wasn't invasive, and now this year, OMG, it's all over it's not just in the huge patch next to the Ecology Garden, another patch over by the boardwalk, another patch on the other side of the stream near the apple orchard. Then you go, where we did some clearing of the apple trees, there's a huge patch there. Then if you go up into the meadows, there's another huge patch, and this stuff creates a solid mass. You see a buttercup here, buttercup there. That's cute and nice. Put it under my chin. Okay. This is a solid mat, no other plants growing. And I have Chris Paulton coming out to look at it and maybe doing a first attempt at one area. But then the question is, if we take it out, what are we going to do with what, if it's all dirt there? You don't want more invasives coming. So I was thinking maybe we could throw some seeds or some carex down in the, to be determined, but is that okay to move forward with that, working within the budget with Joyce?
Yeah.
And we also had a third part of when we first started the Purple Loose Drive, Chris said, that's a 5-year project. Are you committing to that? And we did. We don't see much coming up. Chris was there recently, but there's some. And we also have, do you remember in E, the lower section of E?
Yeah.
Didn't get mowed, and
Yeah.
I didn't mow it again this year. It's a massive, and it's starting to spread throughout honeysuckle.
Yeah.
So if I can get Chris to deal with all those, plus the what's the one that's autumn olive?
Yep.
Those are really big, and it's been like we kind of haven't been dealing with, we've been talking about it, but we haven't had any invasive removal projects in years, really, besides the Purple Loose Drive. And in the other area, it's really, really taken off bad. So I want to get his advice and move forward on at least some of this while we still have some money in our budget that we can afford to do it.
Yeah.
All right.
What is the third project? I have creeping buttercup and the honeysuckle.
Loose.
Autumn olive,
Autumn olive. And where is that?
besides everywhere.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
It's, and also we have a big, on H, we have a pretty good Oriental bittersweet. I know we're not going to tackle them all, but the autumn olive, there's some big autumn olive trees up in the top corner, mixed in with, they thought they were apple trees of the North Pasture over by, I don't know, what do you call that corner? It's over by,
The northeast side of it.
Thank you.
Yeah, the whole east side of that, the trail that goes along the east side of the North Pasture is just covered in them right now.
okay.
yeah, it's like we're committed, there were some big trees actually alongside the wetlands, and while they were there doing the meadow, one guy had a little bit of free time. I had him cut that down. So, and we also need where they did the pruning, there's been more pruning done, so we need some more chipping done at some point. I don't want to just keep, if I can get them to come in. And then the other one is the parking lot we talked about, having that graded.
Yes. That's on the agenda too.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't reading.
No, that's fine. Yeah, I thought last time we thought that Twin Pines was gonna maybe come out and look at it, but I don't know that any.
I already had them look at it, I don't have a price on it, but here's the problem. We have a month left at the end of this
Yeah.
budget cycle. We have way more projects than we have funding for, but we also have a lack of ability to get workers to come out. It's not just Twin Pines. It's not just Chris Paladin. A lot of companies are have, because of COVID has left a
Yeah.
gap. They don't have workers. They're behind on work. So what I'd like to do is we have all these projects we've identified, and sort of based on the budget and just getting as much work as we can done, who's going to show up, instead of saying, oh, we'll do this and then this and then this. We know what the jobs are. And if I can get someone there to come and do the parking lot, we'll do that. And then, but the Buttercup, I think, is the critical one right now also.
For invasives, yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. I think that's a reasonable approach, given that we have so little control over who we can get to show up.
And don't think it's from lack of trying. And I actually believe we have a good relationship with, some of the vendors, and we can call out. Don't think, I also call other ones, but they're just not taking work. So it's across, at least we have a relationship with a few people that can come out and do some of this. So I would like to get as much done as we can before the end of the fiscal year.
Great.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, so that takes us, I think, all the way up through number 8 that we took care of while you stepped away, Freddie, because we did still have quorum. And number 9, I had added signage. Do we still need additional signs? We talked about, Freddie and I will work on the poop fairy signs. Are there other signs we need? We do have signs all set for community gardens, some of which are out. I don't know if the compost sign got put up yet, but, and I have a couple of others in my trunk to bring over. Are there other signs to have made outside of what will be done through the Choate Fund?
Dr. G. Gear is making up a Beecology research type sign that he's putting, we already said he could put up there, but it's not identifying it as our pollination preservation garden. And I don't know if we want to do that so people will know. And, Kat, you talked about QR codes, haven't you, in the past, which like nobody knows what's going on in there except for when I grab them as they're walking by to explain it. And, or people ask questions, but the general public, it'd just be nice if we had a little, but I don't know if we need to do that right now, Joyce.
Okay.
Just for the future. Oh, and I'd make a note. I'm still going to ask you about changing the parking in front of Beecology Research Garden. So Jenny and I, not Jenny, I saw your name. Sorry, Jenny. Beth and I were bringing supplies into Beecology, and she parked her car so we could walk, from the rear right into the garden gate. And we were in the back of the garden not paying attention, and so there was not a single car in the whole parking lot, and someone came and parked right in front of the gate, which made it really hard for us to walk and to do our work, walking around a big SUV. And it's like, you're here for a walk. I don't think it's a big problem to park a little further back. And I just don't see the numbers of cars parking there, even with the community garden open that we had last year, that lot's ever full. So maybe not today, but I just want to key it up again. It's still an issue,
Is there any kind of temporary fencing or something we want to get to try there?
I just don't know why the chain further back wouldn't be beneficial. Then people could, or maybe looking at temporary fencing. I know it's a big decision, but.
Could you simply put a no parking sign in front of the gate?
So here's what also happens. People pull up and they leave their car running with their exhaust while we're working there. I won't tell you how many times that happens frequently.
Wow.
We have people come up and then they sit in their cars keeping the cars running. I'm talking, first of all, there's people who leave their car running and leave because they have automatic, or they're coming back to the car and all of a sudden it starts. You know, we're breathing that exhaust. People who sit in their cars talking, keeping the AC or their phones charging, sitting there, and we're, you know, and it's difficult to go up and say, I'm sorry, can you shut your car off? It's against the law, or, you know, and
We're just working here. Do you mind?
well, it's like, it's like even the volunteers who aren't able to say, can you please not have your dog poop 2 feet from my face when I'm doing weeding? Because that happened.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's not funny.
Yeah, I can wait on this, but I'm just letting you know that it continues to be,
Still
and it
concerned.
makes working there less enjoyable for the volunteers. And when you're asking people to do work, I mean, it's not just me who finds it, you know, oh, now we have to wiggle in between. So that's just in front of the gate, but the whole area, it's like, I'm not sure. We can come back and discuss it later, but I'm just letting you know.
Okay.
Maybe if I found a little fencing we could put up and then move when we had parking. You don't want to not have parking available there if you're having a big event,
Right.
or for the volunteers to come and unload and do things.
Yeah, and that's something to think about for June 13th, because we'll be much more into the community garden season then. I mean, they're just usually Memorial Day weekend is really the big start. So you may not have seen a problem yet, but I'm just anticipating that it won't be long before there's a lot more cars there.
Thank you for reminding me that. I'll have to check with Harding Botanicals if they'll let us park there again
Yeah.
for the event.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so then grants, I think Kat already covered the grant stuff. Was there any other news on grants to cover? We already talked about the choke fund.
Do we have any deadlines coming up like this year? Do we have any opportunities that we know about that are coming up, say September or October, that we could prepare for? Or any of that, or any research that any of us could do to help expand our opportunities?
I'm not aware of any of that for near term.
Freddie, with your work with the Native Pollinator Task Force, have you been able or exposed to any more opportunities in that world? I'm not really tapped in, so I don't have insight, but I'd be happy to, you know, do any legwork to find. It seems like there might be some opportunity out there, but I don't know if you've run into anything in your network.
For what?
Grants that would benefit Breakneck Hill related to pollinator preservation gardens.
Yeah, thank you. I think I'm not aware of any. And my efforts on that would be elsewhere than Breakneck Hill, because we have other areas and schools. Breakneck Hill, like Dr. G. Gear and, you know, some town, Leonardo, let's say, we're doing pretty good with what the supplies we need. The other issue is I didn't bring up, it might be the next item. It's not grants, but so I'll wait.
Okay, I don't know that we do have another item that will, because the next item was the community gardens update, which I was gonna share that the new agreement that gardeners are signing does correct the misinformation that was in my Southborough, that no insecticides and things like that are allowed, and that they will be subject to not being allowed to garden there again if they don't clean up their plots, and that their plots will be subject to inspection. So those corrections were made. I had asked Isabel to alert my Southborough, and she kept telling me it happened. I didn't see it, so I'm not sure I think there was some miscommunication there, but I do know that the corrections that like I think I said earlier, it was a version control management. But the correct version is being used with gardeners for gardeners to sign.
So-
And I thought when I'm around Beecology this year, maybe I'll, maybe introduce myself to some of the gardeners and, find a friendly way to educate them if I feel like I could do that. But yeah,
So for all the other control issues, I don't think that's necessarily something you need to put in my Southborough, but and maybe it's too late for now, the no chemical use.
Mhm.
I had someone say they didn't sign up for a plot when they read that.
Good.
That it
Oh,
was
really?
advised and not required, because they didn't want somebody in the plot next to them spraying chemicals that
Oh,
got on
good.
their.
Oh,
their
you
food.
mean, I thought you meant they didn't want to, because they wanted to use, you're saying they didn't want to use the plot because someone could use chemicals.
The way it was said is was it like advised, not
It was strongly recommended you do not, and that was never, I mean, that was just, like I said, it was an older iteration from a couple of seasons ago, not the approved language that we had gone through with Isabel in the last year or so.
So I don't know that it's, if anyone would sign up at this late date, they're probably, I don't know. And, also people say, oh, I was thinking of it, but I chose not to. Well, were they really going to follow through? I don't know, but maybe they would have.
Yeah.
You just, so I guess leave it lie with the My Southborough. If she thinks she already did it.
Yeah, I mean, I had at a minimum 2, if not 3 back and forth with Isabel on it. And she kept saying, well, I already told you. I'm like, no, but I think it was just like a communication glitch or something.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was everything. So if
There's
there
one
was
other, wasn't there another item, agenda item?
I have the other matters, which could include scouts, volunteers, pollinator gardens.
Yes, that was it. So the pollinator gardens on Wildflower Hill, separate from Beecology.
Yeah.
I'm going to need some volunteers and weeding. I'm thinking of hosting a weeding workshop day. We've lost Ellen as a consultant because she doesn't, even last year, she only did it because she was doing me a favor, because she's now totally focused on a nursery she's doing. So her business model has changed. But we do now have Nikki, who, if you saw the Open Space Preservation Commission's Winter Sow,
Mhm.
she led that, and she seems to be, would be very helpful to have. And the reason to have her is so that, it's good to have somebody that people can ask questions of. And she knows some of the weeds, and so we're not weeding out the good plants, and that it's not just, oh, Freddie, what do I do here? Freddie, what do I do there? And I, so could we fund I was hoping to get that cleaned up before the, if I can have a weeding workshop before the 13th.
Oh yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Is that all right?
Yep.
Tell you what, you come to the guided hikes on the 5th, which is National Trails Day. You have an option of coming at 9 or 5, and I'll volunteer for you weeding. Quid pro quo.
Oh, thank you. And I'm out of town.
Okay.
Hopefully not backpacking in the rain. Actually, I'm supposed to be on a wildflower tour up in the coast of Maine somewhere.
Wow.
That's fun, Freddie.
I hope so. It's,
Sounds fun.
it's not definite
Take
yet. So
pictures.
if I'm in town, I'll be at your thing. But
Don't be in town. Be in Maine.
yeah. So, okay. So that will take care of the Beecology. I mean, the pollinator hill.
Yeah, so is there any other matters? Because if there's not, then I think we should just take a moment to acknowledge
No.
Jim again.
You already did that.
We could do it again. We could.
Kat, what were the times for the hikes on the 5th?
9 a.m. and 5 p.m. Debbie Costine of SOLF is going to lead a guided hike. It's in support of Mental Health Awareness Month, which is May. And so we're promoting it in the month of May and hosting it on National Trails Day, which is the first Saturday in June.
Where will the trail hike be?
Eels.
Oh, great.
So I don't think art on the trails will be up yet, but there could be some preliminary structures in preparation for that.
And there could be a preliminary pollinator garden.
Ooh, there
Ooh.
could be.
Well, it's not, it is what it is. But yeah, that's great. Thank you.
We could point it out, Freddie.
You certainly can.
So is it the
Volunteers
same,
welcome.
same hike at 9 and the same hike at 5?
Yeah.
Okay.
So their registration required. You can go to the Trails Committee webpage for the link. And Debbie wanted to keep it a smaller group. So she offered to do 2 in a day. So I was like, okay, we can try that. So
Do you have a limit on how many can register?
Yeah, 12 per hike. And it's really about, any larger than that you get, it's harder to hear and so this will just be a leisurely stroll through Beals.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you. So Jim, fine.
Don't go, just come.
I'm going to be around and I'll probably come visit you all. So
You
Did
can
you,
come to our meetings still if you wanted to, but we can definitely do some walks at the property.
well, yeah,
So-
any walks you have, include me in your email. So
Okay.
Jim, are you moving?
yeah,
Wasn't that the mad face you sent, Freddie, or was that for something?
Yeah, well, I wasn't sure he was moving. I just heard he was, leaving
Oh, yeah.
us.
Yeah.
Yeah, the mad face. I'm sorry. I'm just not that adult yet.
I loved it.
I do wish you well, Jim, but
Yeah,
mad face,
so
mad face.
grateful. We're just really grateful for everything you've done. You've always, fixing the gate at Beecology, putting up signs. You and I have hauled around signs a couple of times just recently, and that's been really nice to spend that time with you. And my gosh, when I think back of my years on stewardship, Freddie was there in the beginning.
yeah,
I
the
was there in
three of us.
beginning.
Yeah, you, me, and
Jim
Freddie.
was there in the beginning, but Jim was there in
Before we started
iterations-
stewardship.
Yeah, in iterations before stewardship existed.
For the newer members, can you put years on some of this so that we have perspective?
2003, I think we did the clear cut and the herbicide treatment.
I put the first trails there 30 years ago.
Wow.
Wow.
What
Oh
a
my gosh.
legacy, Jim. I hope
And
you think back on that and feel really proud of the recreational opportunities you created and cared for, intended to. And if you had a count of every person who's enjoyed that property, holy cow, it's just got to be,
How many years did you maintain the trails before you?
Maybe 25.
Wow. That's a lot of mowing.
Yep. 3 mowers.
Wow.
At the same time, you did them all at the same time? I'm just kidding.
Yes.
He coned himself.
We
I wish
already
I could
asked.
clone you
about
to
that.
keep you.
We've tried, Freddie, but when you were coming on, I was like, how do we do that? And can we download your brain on a? extra
well, and
hardware?
I mean, something has to be said. There were points, and Freddie and Jim in particular know what I'm talking about, of high tension in stewardship and between stewardship and the community. And sometimes Jim was very unfairly targeted in that era. And he knows what I'm talking about, and Freddie knows what I'm talking about. and always you always took the high road with that when you were being unfairly targeted or
Maligned.
maligned. And
Well, it was simply because the public was misinformed. They were lied to. I mean, it goes on continually. So
yeah.
Yeah, but you still could have reacted differently, Jim, and you never did.
And you didn't. You took the high road, and I really learned something from that. And I think back on that time, and like, I should have been more vocal in my defense of you. I think behind the scenes, I did more than I did publicly. And I've just learned from that. So I just want to acknowledge that, you were.
And you kept on mowing the trails
Yeah.
or
and you
helping
were
us out. And
gracious and generous. And yeah, just really awesome. I might cry.
and yeah, and then I will miss your sense of humor that
Yes.
often caught me off guard, and I didn't
Oh.
realize till after I was already mad. Like the time he called me up and said, what did you say? Oh, there's too much milkweed.
and now it's an invasive. We have to control it. Yeah.
And yeah. And then he was also funny. He would say, oh, Freddie, you were at Breakneck today. And I go, how do you know? And it's like, because he could see all the milkweed seeds from the, like the Hansel and Gretel things. But that was a good one. There was another one I've more recently is You Got Me. And it's anyhow, kept me on my toes, Jim, but always were there with a helping hand whenever. Oh, Joyce and I are out there and the mower's coming right like on our heels almost. And we found a patch of Carolina rose, and we're like, we don't have time to go back home and get the
rid of it.
flagging. Called Jim up in the afternoon, like, can you come over here right away with some flagging so we can flag this?
And there he was 10 minutes later.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was both straddling the role on stewardship with the.
I think she froze. Oh no.
With the cow fund, do you think, is that what she was going to say?
No, I don't think she was going to say that. I don't know what she was going to say, but I think
Come back, Joyce.
Joyce.
When was the stewardship committee formed? Do you remember what year? Or
Well, so my recollection. Are you
Oh, there
back,
you're back.
Joyce? Yay.
we didn't hear you. You left off right when you were saying I was straddling stewardship and.
I think my internet connection's a little wonky.
Oh, yeah.
Oh no.
It's not going to let her say that.
I know there's something in the universe stopping this conversation.
We'd have to look back. I don't know if you know, Jim, but when we went for the grant, so I was on open space, and I think I arranged the invasive walk with Peter Alden, who was Mr. Biodiversity back in the day, and
Yep.
Jeff Collins. And we walked. I was like, I couldn't believe the Oriental bittersweet. And we walked, and Peter Alden said, this is the worst infestation in all of Metro West. And I don't know that were we the stewardship committee then, or was it shortly after that we formed it because we had the grant to manage?
Yeah, we were definitely stewardship then.
And I think we did the grant in 2003. So
Okay.
I thought it was earlier than that. Sorry, my internet's been in and out. I'm having bad quality, network quality. Can you
if
guys
somebody
hear
else
me?
knows better, because I got on the Open Space Commission and that was first for me. And then I think we formed the stewardship committee when we got the grant. And then we had the Conway School of Landscape Design do the plan. Were you there for that, Joyce?
Yes, I was.
So that was right. What year was that done?
I thought that was like 98 or 99, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I don't think so. That was after we got the grant, wasn't it? Or did we get the grant because we had the plan?
I don't know.
I think we got the grant because of the plan. The plan had to be in place first.
So if we did the clear cut, I'm thinking we got the granting in somewhere around 2002. So maybe it was in the early 2000s, earlier than 2003.
No, I actually, now that I think of it, I think that you're right. Because I remember I was away at some sort of training. And when I came back, the clear cut had happened. And I know that was after 2001. So yes, I think Freddie probably has it correct. Naturally.
And that was another fun experience. We had so much outreach. We went through the plan. We told the public. I was getting phone calls at 11, 12 o'clock at night. People screaming, even friends screaming at me. You've ruined the environment. How could you do this?
Yeah, I remember.
Bad.
Yeah.
You were with me on one walk when some friends came up and accosted us, weren't you, Joyce?
I think I was.
And I don't want to speak ill of departed people, so I won't name them. But you know, it was very, very. We have weathered some big storms only for the betterment of the environment and that property and
Jim is
community.
part of that and deserves
Yes.
recognition. So
Yeah, we couldn't have done it without him.
we could not.
Absolutely not.
Father of stewardship.
Huh?
The father of stewardship.
Yes, he was.
Well, actually, it started in about 1986. The very first group was called the Loop Group. And it was the same function as stewardship. It was just called the Loop Group. And that went on for quite a few years. I was on that the entire time that was up. And that's when I put the trails there initially.
And who named him Apple and Macintosh?
That was a Boy Scout.
Was the Loop Group part, was it called the group? Wait, Loop Group. And was that part of a town organization or like a group of volunteers?
The area was orcharded when I first moved here in 84. And that was the last year Ray orcharded it, and he gave up. And then the town asked, we want some suggestions as to what to do. And then they said, we'd like to form a committee to deal with this property and what to do with it. Ray Davis, on his own, formed the committee, and the town then backed him, because that's the way it was back then. If you're part of the old boys network, you could do
All
whatever you want.
crazy, loosey-goosey.
So I immediately joined that and was with it the entire time it was in existence.
So if he was in charge of setting it up, they didn't know who you were when you joined it.
They only knew that I was kind of a pest because I was.
Oh, they already knew that?
I was a little environmental, and I was kind of against this continued spraying. And Ray, of course, wanted to continue orcharding. He just wanted somebody else to buy his orchard building, which is now Harding Botanical. And I mean, that was his agenda. My agenda was trails. So I did my agenda, and I was, nobody else got anything else done.
And we're grateful that you did.
It's a beautiful trail system, Jim.
Yeah, it's a wonderful legacy of your public service.
And didn't you more recently help get a Boy Scout for the woodland trails
That was
out of H?
there are 2 woodland trails were done by Boy Scouts.
I know, but didn't you work with them to make them happen?
Yes.
Because I know I didn't. So, I mean, those are not the big trails, but, very nicely done.
Yeah. Well, when I was in high school, my Eagle project was trails in the town of Harvard. So I started the trail system in the town of Harvard.
Really?
And now you're returning.
Oh,
Yeah.
what a wonderful
circle.
circle.
Well, I like to walk, so it works.
It's win-win.
Yep.
Win for you, win for the community, win for us. So we hope that you will stay in touch, Jim, and I will commit to keeping you informed when we have walks.
And I'll join you.
And when you have walks in Harvard that you'd like us to attend, you keep us informed.
Okay, will do.
Yes.
I'll set them up.
Great.
All
How long
right.
can we keep this going? Because we don't want to say goodbye. Do you know that's
I'm not going to stop the recording.
I gotta go. Bye.
All right. So
All right, bye, Jim.
bye, Jim. This
Keep
meeting
everything.
is coming to adjournment at 8:54. Do I need a motion?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I make a motion, we adjourn this meeting reluctantly, the last one with Jim attending.
I'll second.
All in favor, Freddie,
Yes.
Kat,
Yes.
Jenny,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Not in favor of him leaving, though.
right, me, and I'm in favor of adjourning the meeting and also not in favor of Jim leaving. But the motion passes. So thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Aye.
See you later.